You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we have unleashed the beast. We are back once again to commence our broadcast week here on the Options Insider Radio Network. That means it's time for episode uno of your bi-weekly options feast known as the Option Block. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-compelling network upon which so many of you are binging and gorging yourselves these days. Hey, we don't judge. Go to town. If you want to run up my bandwidth bills, I won't hold it against you. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, you want to get, I don't know, some exclusive content in your ear holes, we got you covered with pro Q&As, great exclusive pro Q&As, as well as options oddities every Friday, as well as the Pro Trading Crate giveaway, which I feel much better this week, listeners. Thanks for all your well wishes. So we are going to give it away. I wanted to wait till I was in a bit of a more festive mood as opposed to being on death's door, because these Pro Trading Crates are, quite frankly, pretty cool, and each one is bespoke. And no Pro Trading Crate is like the other, listeners. So we're going to give away the June, better late than never, we're going to give away the June Pro Trading Crate coming up in a little bit. Of course, where do you go to get your name thrown into the hat for that giveaway, to get access to all of the exclusive shows, the exclusive Pro podcast feed, where you get everything we've done since the launch of this little fun venture, as well as access to everything we do live throughout the week. So if you want to pester my co-hosts on a different show throughout the week live, you can do that. Where do you go? TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to get access to all of that goodness. Or if you're super cool, and again, only for the super cool, if you're super cool, TheOptionsInsider.com/secret club. But again, super cool only, not super cool need not apply. And you know what else is super cool, listeners? It's our guest, that 80s wrestler, fun little segment here, how we kick off our broadcast week. I haven't been doing it in a little while. I was under the weather. I'm still in the southern studio here. We're going to try to make all the technological hurdles work, listeners, so all of you folks can enjoy the goodness. So I'm going to check here and see. It looks like I think the live should be able to hear it. I'm pretty sure my compatriots, it's important that they hear it, because we are going to play. Now, this person has been on the show in the past. He's a pretty well-known wrestler, but he's popping back up on our radar because rumor has it he's about to do his quote-unquote final match this summer against a mystery opponent yet to be named. So no one knows who this person's final match is. I think it's safe to say this person is many decades past his prime. But alas, he is going back into the squared circle one more time, coming up in a couple of weeks. So we thought it was appropriate to bring him back on the show to herald his quote-unquote final match. It could be like who knows, Cher or Barry Manilow or Elton John. These people have retirement tours that last decades. So who knows? This person could retire multiple times. But for now, what we know is this is this person's final match. Can you name this 80s wrestler, listeners?
I'm not hearing anything. Are you, Mike?
You can't hear it? Oh.
No.
That kind of does defeat the purpose of guessing it. But so tell you what, I was going to reveal who our audience
is.
You know who it is? Well, first off, let me go around.
I already know who it is.
Oh, let me go around the horn and introduce both of my cohorts. I know the live could hear it. Let's see if the live got it right. Yes, the live could hear it because they got it right. All right, then. Well, I thought we had the technological hurdles worked out. I could hear it. The live chat could hear it. Apparently, the people who have to guess could not. The only two who could not hear it. So, yes, let's go out now to the uncleist of Mikes first, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management. I will give you a hint, Mr. Uncle Mike. We won't count this for the end game here, but I will give you a hint. We got a few woos in our live chat. So who are we talking about today, Uncle Mike?
None other than the kiss-stealing, limousine-riding, jet-flying, wheeling-dealing son of a gun. He's the man, and if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo!
Woo,
Dusty
indeed.
Rhodes.
Woo.
Nope, Ric Flair.
Dusty Rhodes. Both blonde. That's about it. And both have kind of weird voices. Probably about as close as they get. Both have children actually wrestling in the WWE right now. So I guess there are some similarities between Dusty and Ric Flair. Let's go out now to the greasiest of meatballs. Mr. Meatball, sir, I'm sad you couldn't hear that because I was having fun kind of wooing to it myself. Our chat was having fun wooing along to it. A, welcome back to the program. And B, what are your enduring memories of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair?
I was a big fan of him before in the NWA and the actual NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, not the NWO. And I when they switched to WCW, some of the matches early on when it was just Sting, Luger, and Ric Flair basically carrying that entire organization, that was when it was at its best, and they had some of their best storylines. And I never was a huge fan of him in the WWE itself. I always thought he belonged in WCW, and I thought that's where his best work was. And I will always think of him in that capacity.
Yes, I mostly knew him from his later days in the WWE or WWF, and that you're right, that wasn't his best work. He was already like 55, I think, at that point or something. So not exactly prime peak Ric Flair. I will say this to both of you. I have been toying with the idea. I did see to kind of kick the guessing game into high gear for the remainder of the year. I did see a pretty awesome San Diego Comic-Con exclusive two-pack geared around awesome 80s wrestling, and it's going to go on sale in a couple of days. And I was thinking about if I could find a way to score that, and if I could part with it, because I may want to keep it for myself, but if I can find a way to part with it, maybe I can put that up as a prize for the winner for the remainder of the year here of this Guess That 80s Wrestling thing. That would be a pretty strong incentive. This is the kind of thing that's going to sell out in about 30 seconds and be selling for many multiples of X on the aftermarket pretty instantly. But it sounds pretty cool. So maybe we'll see. Maybe I can put that up. I have to get it first. There's no guarantee I'll be able to get it, but it's going to sell out pretty quickly. But it sounds, I'll just leave that hint out there. And if I do get it, then I will regale you with what the prize will be. But speaking of winning, Mr. Uncle Mike, we have some business to get to before we commence the show. Since you did know the Nature Boy pretty early on, we are now going to do the much delayed but much anticipated drawing for the Pro Trading Crate for the month of June. I am back. I am now in my fine fighting form. COVID, at least for the time being, is in the rearview mirror. So Mr. Uncle Mike, I have hit the button. The random number generator is flashing. Whenever the mood takes you, you could be the rest of the show. You could sit there quietly and then say stop. Whenever the mood takes you. Whoa, oh, you hit stop? Okay, I stopped it. Wow, that was fast. All right. You hit stop before I even unmuted you almost. All right, so we got stop. Let's see. All right, who is that? That number coincides with That's Freddie Villa? Freddie Villa, or perhaps Villa? Maybe he's like Bob Villa's cousin here. Well, Freddie, congratulations. You have won. I've seen your name floating around a few times. You got to get you in the live chat, Freddie, or start sending in some more live questions. We love to see everybody playing on all the different. If you like, just like the podcast, I get it. But if you want to play along in our pro Q&As and stuff, make sure you start sending those questions in, Freddie. But either way, Freddie, congratulations to you. You are the winner of our pro trading crate for June. So our producers will reach out to you. They will give you some choices on the options education / reading front. Also, we'll get your clothing sizes. And then from there, the rest of it is up to us. We will assemble the magic for you, and you will have a pro trading crate coming your way. So, Freddie, stay tuned to your email. Look for an email from our producers so we can kick that off. Congratulations to you. Thanks to everybody who played and participated in the month of June. Don't worry, another pro trading crate coming up in a little bit now. We're already a good chunk of the way through July, so it's coming up pretty soon. And you know what else is coming up soon? It's the trading block. So let's get to it.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right. This one's for you, Freddie. In honor of you, we got the Trading Block here today, and we're seeing a wee bit of green back on the old screens again. It's kind of been in that trend really for a little while now. The last few sessions, we've seen green on the equity screens, and in fact, green on the crypto screens as well, which leads us to our question of the week this week, which just went live right before showtime. We asked you guys. We've seen a nice pop in equities and crypto over the past week. Are you guys buying back in at these levels, or is there still more blood to come? Gave you 4 choices. I'm buying equities here. I'm buying crypto here. I'm buying both here, so you're just two-fisting. Or there's more blood to come. I will reveal the early results a little bit later in the show. But all this green on the screen, S&P up about 0.5%, Dow up 0.25%, NASDAQ off, I should say up a little over 1%, about 1.1% on the day. That means coming into showtime, we had VIX cash right around 24.5. That puts it down a little over 3 points, about 3.1 points from our last show on Thursday. VVIX, so the vol of vol, back down to about a 90. It's down about 2.5 points from Thursday's show. VXX, the forgotten stepchild of Barclays, 2140, down about 1.3 points from Thursday's show. UVXY was at a nice, clean, cool 12.5, down 1.5 points from Thursday's show. SVIX, 1140, up about 0.8 of a point. Remember, that's the inverse product, listeners. UVIX was at a 14 even. That's down a little over 2, about 2.1 points from where it was on Thursday's show. And VolQ was at a 29, down about 3.5 points. Mr. Uncle Mike, you knew the Nature Boy, even though you couldn't hear it, so your psychic powers fared well for you today. What's lighting up your tape on this mostly Uncle Mike type of day?
It's just that easy. The market goes up all the time. Now, what's lighting up my tape right now, we don't really have a lot of movement going on in the market, relatively speaking. It's like 0.5%. Come on, market. We're used to getting like 3 and 4% moves every day, it feels like. What the heck are we doing? Wake up, get moving, do something, huh? What I am seeing is that we are having a hard time getting over the 3,900 hump on the SPX. So in looking at this, one of the things that really sticks out to me is that what we might be having is a magnet forming at the 3,900 level. So we initially, on May 12th is when we initially broke it for the first time. We rallied, and then again on May 20th, we broke it for a little bit, kind of bounced up, and then probably on the next time we actually broke the 3,900 level was roughly a month ago. Then we tested it again in late June. And then probably about 10 days ago, we tested it again, couldn't get through, and now we're there again. So market really likes the 3,900 area, not necessarily the number, but that area. And that we dip, we go back to it. We gain ground, we go back to it. So I'm going to be curious to see this week if we can break above it, or if we go below it, or we continue to do nothing. So if that's not decisive market predictions, I don't know what is. But 3,900 is definitely something that there's a magnet for both the bulls and the bears seem to be drawn to the 3,900 level. 10-year note, a little bit of a sell-off today, but nothing too crazy, especially in 10-year note land, all things considered. So we have that going on. We have a little bit of a gain in the silver world right now. So we do have a little bit of movement within the commodity space. Energy, that's up 3% on the day, looking at XLE. So we are getting a little bit of a rally in the energy space, but really not surprising the fact that crude is up 4% on the day. as well as natural gas up over 6% on the days. So getting some movement in the energy world. And even though they're up today, Bitcoin still really sucks.com.
Interesting. I invite you to check out my competing website, Mr. Uncle Mike, BitcoinIsReallyAwesome.com. We might have to have a little bit of a back and forth war. One shall stand, listeners, and one shall fall. You heard him on the last show. He put out a $2 million
Mark,
offer.
what we need to do is keep promoting it, and then we'll just work a straddle between us.
There we go. Plus, you're going to acquire my site for $2 million. I think that was the offer you made on the last show. So yeah, just start wiring the funds to my accountants, Mr. Uncle Mike, and then I will forward the URL to you, and it'll all be nice and right and proper. And you know who loves himself a little bit of the old BitcoinIsReallyAwesome.com? He is the greasiest of meatballs. Mr. Meatball, sir, we got a bit of a slow but somewhat active day out there. What is lighting up your tape today, sir?
Yeah, they tried to break 3,900 like Mike said, and it failed. We've since backed off, and it's been kind of a slow meander lower. I'm interested to see whether they try and buy the close, but if not, we could be in a position to see the market kind of meander back toward even. There's been a dramatic drop in realized volatility, close to close over the last few weeks. And, we may be continuing that trend right now because the market just does not want to catch a bid and hold it. And, I guess the lone outlier was Friday, where we did see a little bit of a ramp, but they're so far today failing to really follow through on any rampage of the S&P 500. VIX is a little soft today, but it's interesting that UVXY and different ETPs are starting to catch a little bit of a bid here. Makes you wonder whether we could see some selling into the close. The market is certainly bracing for that. So that's what I'm looking at today as I examine the financial markets.
It does seem like we are preparing for a bit of a turn here, does it not? It does seem. I would not be surprised if we at this level if we close the day red. What do you think, Mr. Meatball?
Yeah, red or flat or plus or minus 5 points would be kind of par for the course lately. A whole lot of not doing anything. We do have some individual movers. Nice little rally in oil. I was, when looking at some of the money flows, there's been some pretty big put buying post earnings on some of these names, and some bearish sentiment setting up in Apple, which I was a little surprised by. But all in all, kind of an interesting day. Biotech's down, everything up a little bit, except for healthcare and utilities that are down. But everything else is up, but not very much, except for oil, which looks extremely strong, and retail. Nice little pop in retail today.
Let's see if we're getting a pop in the volume. Let's start here in the major indices. Let's go out to VIX land first. VIX actually doing some numbers for a day where we were mostly green. That usually doesn't translate to a robust explosion of VIX volume out of the gate, but we saw some decent paper today. VIX at 378,000 contracts right now, so that's pretty decent. It's pretty close to its ADV, which has ticked down since our last show. It's down to 466,000 now, so that continues to move in the wrong direction, even as VIX putting up some numbers today. So probably going to surpass that ADV today. SPY, same deal, 3.7 million contracts on the tape for SPY today. The ADV 6.82 million contracts out there in SPY land. Let's go back out to the S just a tick north of 1 million, 1.01 million to be precise. The ADV about 2.19 million. If the S is over a million right now, it's a decently robust day, all things considered. IWM, 471,000 contracts, the ADV 757. So IWM putting up some numbers today as well. And not to be forgotten, the Qs also putting up some numbers. 1.35 million contracts on the tape for the Qs, the ADV 2.4 million. It's a little bit less robust, shall we say, when we get out to the single names even though the bottom of the list isn't terrible, it costs you only about 207,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That's not nothing. We've seen days with $120 and change, so we're not quite that low. But it doesn't really get much higher than that throughout the rest of the list, listeners. Spoiler. Number 10 is Mara. What's his name? Has been popping off a little bit of late. We've been talking about it on Oddities and a few other programs here on the network. This was, in the pre-Bitto days, this was one of the many surrogates a lot of the meme stock folks liked for a little bit of the old crypto action. It has been popping. It's popping a little bit again today, up 27.6% or 2.25%. My goodness, Marathon on the rampage today. I'm trying to see what's driving this one today. This is a big move in Marathon. It's trading 10.25, still well off its high. It got up to 83.45, listeners, back in November. So even with today's pop of over 27%, it still has quite a long way to go to retrace some of those gains out there. But Mara, number 10, 207,000. Number 9, the artist formerly known as Facebook, 212,000 contracts for Meta. Number 8, Bank of America, 279,000. We are still in the heels of kind of the financial portion of earnings, listeners. Bank of America, 32.30 today, kind of unched up about 0.2%, but good for 279,000. Number 7, the old GOOG, 299,000 contracts for number 7. Number 6 and 5, we're back to the old school symbol twins. Number 6, AMD, 328,000. That's kind of light for AMD. They're usually around 400,000 this time of day. Today, number 6, 328,000. Number 5, right behind it, the symbol twin, the reigning king of the memes. It's AMC, 354,000. Let's see what's going on with AMC. AMC popping hard, up almost 10%, 9.7%, listeners. Up about $1.50, trading $16.86 right now. So nice run here for AMC. Of course, the high for the year, AMC, 52.79, set back in September of last year. Excuse me. Still got a little bit of taste of the old vid in the back of the throat. Number 5, we had just did at number 5. Number 4, we've got Tesla, 517,000 contracts. So we jump up nicely from 5 to 4. Then we're going to hang out there. Number 4 is Tesla. That's a rare spot for Tesla. Usually Tesla number 2, if not number 1. Today, number 2, 517,000 contracts. Let's see what's going on in Musk land. 745 and about $0.25, up 25 handles or about 3.5%. So a nice little pop for ye old Tesla. They have rebounded from their lows of about 620 they sent back in May, trading 744 and change right now. So again, nice little pop here for Tesla on the year, even though not a ton of paper today, for 570,000. Say number 3, NVIDIA. So NVIDIA actually usurping Tesla on the day. Don't see that too often. NVIDIA is kind of usually hangs out there in the 4 or 5 spot with AMC. Today, NVIDIA up nearly 5% or $7.80, trading 165 and about a half today. So nice pop for NVIDIA. Good for number 3, 561. Number 2, it doesn't impress the Flowmaster, but we like it here on the show. It's Amazon, at least from a volume perspective. Putting up some numbers today. We've got 572,000 contracts. Amazon, by the way, up 271 or about 2.4%, trading right around 116.25 right now. That means number 1, once again, it's the fruit company, the name they didn't really seem to be able to do much to, even in the height of the downturn. Apple kind of trading unched right now, right around 150.25. On the year, got down to about a low of about 130, pretty much exactly. And then it bounced right off that back in the big sell-off in June. So it's up 20 handles from there. It's still about 33 points off the high of 183 that is set back in, looks like in March, and also flirted with it in January as well. So there you go, top of our list, 661, not the most rock'em sock'em robots of days, but you know what it is, listeners. It's a pretty rock'em sock'em robots earnings week. Strap in, we got a lot of them on the docket. Today, we've got IBM, we got Goldman, we got Bank of America, and Chucky Schwab. Tomorrow, we've got J&J, Ally, so our buddies over there on OPR, Brian and company. We've got Hasbro on the toy side. We've got Netflix on the streaming side, and IB on the brokerage side. Wednesday, we got Abbott Labs, NASDAQ, Alcoa, Tesla, United Airlines. Thursday, AT&T, American Airlines, Snap, Mattel, back to the toys. Domino's, you want some pizza ball? Got it for you on Thursday, as well as Dow Chemical. Friday, Verizon, Amex, and Twitter. Let's hit a couple of these right now. hot off the presses from our friends over there in Orat's Land. Listeners, first, earnings move results. What was popping off before the bell today? We've got Goldman before the bell today, 293.87. They're pricing in 3.4%. They delivered 2.6%, so a little bit of underperformance for good old Goldman. If you've been listening to a lot of the earnings, you know it's been kind of a bit of a dire period for a lot of the financials reporting earnings. Morgan really spooked everybody last week. I haven't looked at the numbers for Goldman yet, but underperforming their straddle. Bank of America today before the bell as well. They were trading 32.25 going into their announcement. They're pricing in 3.7%. Get this, listeners, they delivered 0.5%. My goodness, that's a whole heck of a lot of nothing. Let's go out to Chucky Schwab as well. Why not? They were trading 62.20 going into their announcement today. They're pricing in 4.8%. They delivered 1.2%. So a whole heck of a lot of nothing in Chucky Schwab land as well. Tell you what, let's hit one more here from this morning. Let's go to Synchrony Financial. $32 is where they're trading right now. Let's see. This morning they went into their announcement 31.39. They're pricing in 4.5%. They delivered 2.5%. So we were talking about a lot of outperformance and people pricing in a lot of extra juice here in the start of earnings season, at least so far, at least today. That is not being rewarded. Listen, let's go a little bit later. Let's go after the bell today. IBM after the bell. 140 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $7.59. In the past, they moved 7.08. So we bit of extra juice in IBM. Ally, let's see what Brian and company are up to. The 19th before the bell, 34.43 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $1.81. In the past, they've moved to $1.41. So we bit of extra juice there. Let's go out to J&J, 19th before the bell as well. 178.25 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $4.10. In the past, they've moved $3.76. Netflix, 19th after the bell, 189, pretty much even is where they were trading. They're pricing in $27. In the past, they've moved $18.79. Whoa. That is a lot of extra juice for Netflix. And of course, that whole sector has come under fire ever since Netflix's last announcement. They kind of really screwed the pooch on the streaming front. So, wow. That's a whole heck of a lot of extra juice. Listeners out there. All right, let's go to IB. They're the 19th after the bell as well. Back to the brokerage side. 54.81 is where they were trading. They were pricing in $2.30, listeners. In the past, they've moved $1.17. So almost double for good old IB. Again, not a name that is synonymous with vol all the time. So that is certainly interesting. Tesla, a name that is kind of synonymous with vol. 20th after the bell. 720.20 is where they were trading as of this report. They're pricing in about $47. In the past, they've moved 46.5. So they've actually come pretty close to in line with their previous straddles, and their previous moves, which is kind of surprising for Tesla. Usually there's a little bit of extra juice out there. United Airlines, 20th after the bell, 38.75 is where they were trading. They're pricing in, get this, listeners, $2.73. In the past, they've moved $1.79. So nearly a full buck's worth of extra juice. American Airlines, 21st before the bell. Let's see, $14.50 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $1. In the past, they've moved 64 cents. Well, let's do one more here. Let's go to AT&T, 21st before the bell. They were pricing in $20.50, and they were trading at $20.50. They're pricing in 65 cents. In the past, they've moved 67 cents. So no real surprises in the offing there. You know what? Listen, I lied. A couple more. Snap, 21st after the bell. $13.65 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $2.38. In the past, they moved $2.70. So a little bit lighter juice in Snap, which is kind of interesting, actually. Let's hit the old T. Let's go to Twitter as well. Let's see what Musk has done to this name now. Let's see, 22nd before the bell, 37.75 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $1.67. In the past, they've moved $3.17. So a lot less juice. But again, you have external factors at work there in the Twitter landscape. We have updated the earnings season report. We have 13 names reporting now for week one. And week one, as we expected, has come back in line now. It was, I think, 150-odd%. Now it has come down to 96%. Still green. Still looking pretty good here with 13 names reporting, but a little bit lighter than it was last week here on the show. Earnings trades, we are monitoring 52 long straddles, 22 short straddles, and 42 long calendars for your trading pleasure. You can find all that data for yourselves completely for free. TheOptionsInsider.com is the place to go. Meanwhile, we got to go on out of here and into our next segment. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by TheOptionsInsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
Chat is comparing Freddie to the one and only Freddy Krueger out there. I'm sure he's not the stuff of nightmares. I'm sure he is quite the nice fellow out there. And hey, he's the winner. I know you're all jealous. You all want to win the crate. I get it. The crate is pretty freaking cool, if I do say so myself. But alas, there can be only one. And this month, it is Mr. Freddie. Let's go on out now to our first name on the Odd Block. This is actually back from our last show, listeners. We're going to pay it off. We're going back to Rio Tinto PLC, so going back out into the old mining sector out here. Ticker symbol Rio, RIO. Trading right now $57.50 on the year. It got up to $89.51. That was on August 3rd of last year. Then it sold off hard to pretty much $59 or so in November. Then rallied again back up to about 84 in March. Hit it again in April, and almost hit it again in June 8th to be precise. So it's had some topsy-turvy moments, and ever since June 8th, it's been selling off hard down to hit the 52-week low of 53.81, easy for me to say. That was just last week, and now has rallied to $57.50, where we find it today. And if you recall, listeners, on our last show, someone was loading up for beer here in Rio. In particular, they were just lining up a whole bunch of upside calls. They were swinging for the fences. They came in and gobbled up to start with 2,998 of the July 56.88. I love these corporate action strikes. They just lifted the offer. They paid 25 cents for these bad boys, listeners. The stock was, or I should say that vol was 73.40. The stock was 54.78. When they did that trade, then they decided they liked it so much they came and did a couple of thousand more. Total of over 5,000 went up on the day. Remember that strike, listeners? It was 56.88, and they're looking good now. Unfortunately, they were not looking that good on Friday, where the stock went out at 55.41. So, alas, they did not get the move that they needed. Looks like they dropped about $125,000 on this one. Is that your takeaway as well, Mr. Meatball? Swinging for the fences. Alas, the fences did not come soon enough.
That is exactly what it looks like. Sometimes it's all about timing. And this one appears to have just been off by only a few hours if you ignore the weekend.
Yeah, a couple of sessions, really. Not even. Yeah, I mean, this guy was close. It's trading 57 and change right now, so he would be in the money right now. He just needed one more day, Mr. Meatball. That sucks.
Unfortunately.
We've all been there. So alas, Mr. or Mrs. Rio call buyer, we feel your pain. $1.25. That's going to leave a bit of a mark out there. I mean, it's small potatoes for me, but for a fund like yours, I'm sure it's pretty large. All right, let's keep on going. Let's go back to a name we were talking about a lot there for a while. Haven't talked about them in a little bit. We're going back to the GOOS, listeners. In particular, Canada Goose Holdings. Ticker symbol GOOS, GOOS, trading right now $18.74, up $1.11 or 6.3% today. You know this name. They make those overpriced outerwear with that stupid little badge on it, and because it has that badge, it's got to be like 2.5 times what a regular coat like that would look like, or I should say what it would sell for. Let's see, trading $18.72 right now. Hit its high for the year in November of $53.64. And a year ago was trading right around $40. So obviously they are off about 52% on the year. And then if you look at their high, they're off a lot more here. So obviously a rough year for the GOOS. I'm trying to recall what the previous, I'm pretty sure it was put paper last time, because we're going back to the puts again here, listeners. In particular, it was the AUG 15 puts. These are in the weeklies expiring on the 5th. and looks like someone came in and probably paid 11 cents. They were a nickel at 15 cents. So it's kind of a bit of a split the uprights kind of trade. It is a 66 vol, whichever way they put it up. Let's see. The stock was right around here. And interestingly enough, there are earnings, but they expire 5 days after this. So they expire on the 10th. This is not going to get you any earnings. So if you were buying these, you think you might want to buy them through the earnings event, which maybe, that'd be hard to get an 11-cent bid for these bad boys. That'd be impressive. Looks like Mr. Matt and his team at Orats also spotted this one. They run some of their own unusual activity scans. This was their third highest volume to a regular 20-day average, I believe is how they measure it, ratio. So Canada Goose popped up there at about 2.5x. They also spotted these puts going up about 14,800 total options traded versus their normal volume of 6,000 and 14,100 coming in those AUG 15 puts. So, Mr. Meatball, back to Canada Goose. This is what you like this one. I think you were a fan of Canada Goose when we talked about it in the past. What do you think of these puts? You think they're buying them or they got a heck of a bid to sell them? And what are your thoughts on the fact that they're doing it before earnings, not through earnings, sir?
Yeah, we got a nice pop in Goose today, all retail, and money is taking this opportunity to unload it. So I'm interested in what exactly is happening here, but they're definitely taking Goose. They're definitely taking Goose for definitely thinking Goose is gonna get hunted, if you will.
Do you think the Goose is cooked?
The Goose might be cooked. The Goose might be a down pillow. It's very interesting what I'm seeing. So yes.
I gotta think in a recessionary environment, super overpriced outerwear, maybe I might take a hit.
You might think.
All of a sudden you look at the Canada Goose and maybe, I don't know, maybe you're in whatever store you're in and you see whatever generic brand is next to it, trading for a third the price. You're like, maybe I can make do with that. Well, we shall see. But someone thinks the Goose is definitely cooked here for Canada Goose. What are your thoughts? You talked about Canada Goose before, listeners. I think a few of you were trading in and around. Have you folks trading any of these puts? Would you rather buy these bad boys or sell them? Again, you don't get the earnings through this, so it's kind of a pre-earnings play. So if you're buying them, you think you'd want. They are cheap, though, so you're probably not going to get through earnings for only 11 cents. All right, let's go out here. You know what? We love our listeners. We spotted some other stuff, but our listener we have a request here coming from the chat from Mr. Unlimited. He says the SOXL, SOXL 17 strike for July 22nd is seeing lots of action. Well, let's go see what we see in SOXL. If you're not familiar, listeners, this is the Direxion Daily Semiconductor Bull 3X Levered ETF, ticker symbol SOXL. Trading right now $15.38. Nice little 2.2% pop today. On the year, let's see, a year ago, it was trading 36.84, so a little over 2x where it is right now. And it got up all the way in the height of the madness to 74.21. Looks like that was in December of last year. And since then, they have come for this thing. My goodness, I guess you got this Bull 3X product in a down environment. It's going to wear it, and this one is wearing it pretty hard right now. It's down 58% on the year. That's just from a year ago. And obviously from the highs, it is looking a lot worse. It has rebounded from its lows. Like it hit $10.50 not too long ago. It has since rebounded from there. It's up about, almost 50%, up to about 15 and change right now. So it has had a nice little recovery here. But let's see what he mentioned. Mr. Unlimited asked about the July 17s expiring on the 22nd. Yes, you are correct. I'm seeing some of those going up today. Looks like the biggest chunk was a 5,000 lot going up for 33 cents, lifting the offer. The market was 30 cents at 33. This is a 121 vol. This is old school paper. Listen, this is like last year paper. We saw another lot of 3,333 going up for. Well, that's the 15s. No, I was gonna say that looks pretty robust. So I'm about the 15s today too. But let's talk about the 17s. We got the 17s going up another 2,500 times for 30 cents, lifting the offer again. Another 2,000 times for 45. Man, they bid these things all the way up. 45.5 cents. A total of 27,000 of these bad boys have traded on the day. That is a heck of a lot of paper here. Listen, I can get my stuff working again. There we go. All right. So yeah, 27,000 of these. Worth noting, the 16s have also traded. Let me go pull those up really quickly too. The 16s have traded 10,000 times. What's going on? I see the 15s going up 3,300 times. I don't see the 16s. So it looks like we got a bit of a call palooza. 15s have traded 8,500 times. My goodness, there's a lot of opening call action here in SOXL. Mr. Meatball, are you familiar with SOXL, aka the Direxion Daily Semi-Bull 3X Share ETF? B, has this one come up on your unusual flow meter over there? And C, what are your thoughts on all these? In particular, the July 22s going up today. Someone's looking for some upside, sir.
Yeah, so there is this bill in front of Congress that, maybe they'll pass some bullish stuff for the chips. That is why we're seeing this. So yes, I've seen this flow happening. Let's not forget, Peter Pelosi bought a butt ton of NVIDIA just a couple of weeks ago, ahead of this vote as well. So I think we could see a near-term pop in some of the semiconductors if Congress and computer makers if Congress passes this big chip infrastructure bill that I know is being pushed.
Good old Mr. Pelosi. Never saw a congressional bill he didn't want to step in front of. I did see some rumors that he may have exercised some leaps as well. I have to go check that for myself.
Yeah,
if that's the case, he exercised them. Okay, then he needs to listen to our shows then.
So he was long the June 100 calls in NVIDIA and allowed them to be assigned to him, thus buying 20,000 shares of NVIDIA on June 20th, basically buying the bottom, and is looking for some of these names to make a pop. Don't blame the trade. Don't blame the trader. It's a nice trade. I think he is gonna end up making some good money. I'm gonna start a Pelosi ETF that just
Pelosi tracker.
Peter Pelosi to the Pelosi tracker.
We'd like to have seen the bid on those leaps when he exercised them, though. He probably could have done a little better, dumping them in the marketplace out. Sometimes those things get wide, so I could see why maybe you might own it, but that's usually a losing trade. But hey, he just wanted to get himself long some NVIDIA. He didn't care. He was willing to pay the price. That's how bullish he is on NVIDIA right now. Looks like, listeners, the uncleist of Mike's had to step away for a minute, so don't think we're going to be getting a strat block today. Maybe we'll get one on Thursday. Instead, we will head right on into the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the mail block, the portion of the show where we break down what you guys have on the brain. Hey, we just did that. We just played off one of your requests. These are kind of interesting, listeners, given all what's going on in Congress right now, what Mr. Pelosi is up to. I got to say, let me go back and look at what's the level they're paying. But yeah, 33 cents on a bit of a flyer on these bad boys. 15, and it's only a week, though. That's you need this bad boy to pop. I know it is a 3X. If I was going to buy these, I would probably have to sell something against it. Maybe you look into a little bit of a fly on these levels instead. Instead of just taking the 33 to 45 cents, he paid 45 cents for some of these. If you're going to pay 45 cents for a weekly call, you definitely need to sell something else against it. Otherwise, you could potentially be throwing some money away. But these are definitely intriguing. We will keep an eye on these. Well, let us know in the chat if you are diving into these bad boys as well. Our chat saying if they get into Congress, they will make us all rich. Well, there you go. Thank you for that. They're saying the same thing. Rumor is Nancy Pelosi's husband is dabbling in the chip stocks. Yes, indeed. Let's see what the rumors are this week for the mail block. First, let's go out to last week's question of the week. We asked you guys, hey, it's time to spread your options trading wings. In particular, which, quote, spread with wings it's finding its way is finding its way into your trading arsenal right now. I gave you 3 choices in the infamous other: iron condor, iron fly, traditional fly, and then other. And as you mentioned on the show last week, butterfly was catching up. Iron condor kind of ran away with it early. Then butterfly was catching up. At the end of the day, it couldn't close the distance. Iron condor took it 43.8%, followed by number 2, butterfly, 37.5%. Iron fly, number 3, 12.5%, and 6.3% for other. I was a little surprised with that. We don't hear as much about iron condors anymore as we did, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago. They were all the rage back then. Over the course of the last 6 months to a year, I'm trying to think off the top of my head how many of you have written in with questions about iron condors. Not many. So I was kind of surprised to see these numbers out here. This week, we are turning the tables back on you folks again, saying, we've seen a nice pop in equities and crypto over the past week. Are you buying back in at these levels, or is there still more blood in the water to come? Gave you 4 choices this time. I'm buying equities here. I'm buying crypto here. I'm buying both here, so you're diving in with both hands, or there's more blood to come. Mr. Meatball, I'm curious for you. What is your vote here? And then what do you think our audience is voting for, sir?
I think probably there's more blood to come, and you maybe want a near-term buy. I think this is a tradable spot here, but also crypto is crypto. And so, it's a good trading vehicle, but in terms of buying in, I don't know if I'm quite ready. I'm quite there yet.
Yeah, we're seeing a similar sentiment actually right now. This just went live right before showtime, listeners. We have Daniel Hoban weighing in saying, I'm buying here and there is more blood coming. So he's kind of along the same sentiment lines that you are, Mr. Meatball, that he's buying some, but also there is more blood to come. Let's see how it's shaken out right now. Oh, wow. It just ticked. It is now evenly tied across the board, listeners, in the early voting. 25% for your buying equities here, 25% for your buying crypto here, 25% for your buying both here, and 25% for there's more blood coming. Wow. Our audience as evenly split as it gets. At Options is the place to go, listeners, to make your voice heard. Meanwhile, listeners, it is time for us to keep on rolling and go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on for the rest of this week into the old weekend. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, listeners, a little birdie has just told me that the uncleist of Mike's has returned. So perhaps, if the fates smile upon us, perhaps we can have a little bit of the old block of strategery after all.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, I delayed as long as I possibly could, but the people are demanding. They demand their block of strategery on the Monday show, sir. What do you have in store for them today?
Well, today I am actually going to talk about something I don't usually talk about on the strategy block, and that is a straddle. Yes, you heard me correct. I'm going to talk about a straddle. Now, first off, why am I talking about a straddle? I never use a straddle. A straddle is something that's really not in my arsenal, but I think it's important that you know what it is and how it could be used. So that way, once I talk about more advanced strategies, you'll have a concept or you'll have an understanding of how this specific tool works. So you can use some of the more advanced things that I do use that you need to understand what a straddle is all about. Now, what is a straddle? A straddle is something that, in my opinion, is one of the most misused or mispitched trades ever known to man. So there was an old education company. They've since gone belly up. And I remember they used the straddle as a strategy to market themselves because it was just that great of a thing. You can make money if the market goes higher or lower. What it is you buy an at-the-money call and an at-the-money put. Since the risk is limited on the call and the put, you're guaranteed to have an amount of risk. And the stock either goes way up or way down. Either way, you win. So it's pretty simple. It's like buying a call and buying a put combined. But the disadvantage, it's expensive. And have the understanding that when you buy a straddle, you're going to need more movement than if you were just bullish buying a call or bearish buying a put. You're going to need typically twice the amount of movement in the underlying stock to make it work. So if you believe that a stock is going to have a huge move to the upside or the downside, you just don't know which way, then a straddle would be a wonderful thing to buy. If you think the stock's not going to move that much and you really want to be high risk, then you could sell a straddle, sell a naked call and a naked put. If God were to tell me the stock is not going to move, once again, God does not give me stock tips. But if he did, and he said the stock would never move, there's no better thing to do than a straddle. Selling a straddle, that is. So when doing this, if you're looking for a lot of movement and underlying, a straddle would be something to consider. Now, full disclosure, I can't even remember the last time I actually bought a straddle. It's probably been at least 10 years. But need to have an understanding of how a straddle works. The way I use a straddle is I will look and see what the straddle is of an underlying and see, okay, that is what option traders believe the amount of movement stock is going to have, either the upside or the downside. I'll use it as more of a tool to look at than I would as a strategy in and of itself. As we get closer to the end of the year, I'm going to talk about back spreads and front spreads and some things that I use that you need to have an understanding of a straddle to use. But for now, you have an understanding of what the straddle is. And if you'd like more information on it, probably later tonight or tomorrow sometime, I'll be releasing a video on my YouTube channel on the straddle.
Check him out.
How exciting.
Check him out over there on the tubes, listeners. And now it is time for us to keep on rolling into our final segment. It is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping our eye on until we can gather here together on the program on Thursday. Let's go out to the greasiest of meatballs first. Mr. Meatball, sir, what are you keeping an eye on until we can gather here together on Thursday?
This market, what are we going to end up doing? And obviously, we've got a ton of earnings. I want to know what's going to happen there. There's always the looming Federal Reserve in the background to keep an eye on. So there's a just absolute ton out there that I am tracking.
Absolute ton indeed. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what is the metric ton that you are tracking until Thursday's show, sir?
I think this is a looming tracking market, meaning, like Mark said, that we have the Fed looming. We have a lot of things looming. All of a sudden, we could have another COVID outbreak. We could have another Fed rate hike that they weren't expecting. Maybe they'll go 100 basis points. You never know. We could have something going on with Russia. And just with all the things looming, I'm watching the loomers, if you will. You got earnings looming. And then the main thing that I am watching, besides all of the looms, would be 3,900 in the S&P, which we talked about at the beginning of the show.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Option Block. But if you're saying to yourself, you know, I need a little bit more action in my life. I need a little bit more content in my life. Maybe today's poll has you stroking your chin saying, perhaps I want to talk a little bit about crypto. Don't worry. We got you covered. I'll be back in pretty much exactly an hour with the folks from Stable House to break down what's going on in these wild, crazy world of crypto, Bitcoin, ETH, all that good stuff, and a whole bunch more. You know what to expect right now from the Crypto Rundown. Then we're back again tomorrow for pro Q&As and all that good stuff. Before we get there, let's go back around the horn. Let's go out to the greasiest of meatball. Mr. Meatball, sir, if folks want to hit you up, talk big money, flow, or any other stuff you guys have cooking, where should they go? What should they do?
Come to optionpit.com. It is the best place to find the information you want to trade. VIX, volatility, options, you name it, the whole 9 yards. It's all available on optionpit.com.
the old OP. And Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if folks want to go check out those videos, all that cool stuff you're doing, where should they go? What should they do?
Go to St. Charles Wealth Management or type that in on YouTube and you'll find the videos. If you are looking for a financial advisor who actually knows what the heck a straddle is, I challenge you to find many others that do. Feel free to visit my website. Contact me that way, stcharleswealth.com.
All right, and that's going to do it for us today, listeners. Like I said, we'll be back in about exactly an hour with the folks from Stable House to talk crypto. Congratulations to our pro listener, Freddie Villa. You are the winner of the Pro Trading Crate for the month of June. If you guys want to join that party, you haven't done so yet, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. Back again on Thursday, another episode of The Option Block. Stay safe out there.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.